The fight for 15. I'm Adrienne Pedersen. Today on Up Front, the arguments for and against a higher minimum wage. Would it help raise workers' standard of living or throw more people into poverty? Plus, the race for Wisconsin Supreme Court heads into a primary Tuesday. Which candidates have money and momentum? And the candidate for president being shut out of Wisconsin's spring primary. Are Republicans limiting competition for President Trump?
Taking on the issues important to Wisconsin. This is Up Front with your host, Adrienne Pedersen.
Milwaukee workers marched at City Hall calling for a higher minimum wage. Thank you for joining us today. Those workers want $15 an hour. They also want the city to open a dialogue with workers and employers on improving employment standards in the service and hospitality industry. They handed city officials 20,000 petitions they said support that call. So here are some facts about the minimum wage in Wisconsin. It's $7.25 an hour. That matches the federal minimum wage. It's been that rate since 2008. So today we are looking at just that. Should we raise the minimum wage to $15, raise it to a lesser amount, or leave it alone and let the free market take care of wages? We're talking with Peter Rickman, president of the Milwaukee Area Service and Hospitality Workers Organization, and Angela Rashidi, a scholar with the American Enterprise Institute and contributor to Wisconsin's Badger Institute think tank. So thank you to you both for being here.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Peter, I'll start with you since you're here representing really the side that wants to make a change. Why do you think raising the minimum wage to $15 is necessary?
Well, we begin with a fundamental proposition that all labor has dignity and everyone who works deserves a living wage. The truth is, working people have needed a raise for a long time, and bringing our minimum wage up to $15 per hour is just a start. This movement began years ago talking about raising wages to a living wage and bringing to people the dignity, rights, and respect that come with a union contract. People have been on the move here in Milwaukee. We won recently at Fiserv Forum a standard-setting union contract that brings the wage up to $15 per hour for every worker, and there's no reason that that can't happen across our city.
Angela, I know you've researched this topic a lot. You come with a different viewpoint. What's your side?
Sure. I very much agree with Peter that work has dignity and all workers deserve dignity, but I'm a big proponent of the free market. And I think that anytime government intervenes in a number of things, and particularly wage setting, there's going to be winners and there's going to be losers. And so I'm concerned about mandating a minimum wage across the state, that it's going to hurt a number of people in particularly rural areas, places outside of Milwaukee, where the market just doesn't support a $15 an hour wage. And things like, we know from research that job loss results when the government intervenes in wage setting, and actually research organizations have identified that while some people might be raised out of poverty, a number of people actually are driven into poverty because they lose jobs because of minimum wage laws. And so I think there's other ways to address wage issues for workers, and I just don't think minimum wage is the way to go.
And what's your response to that?
Well, I'm glad that we can agree that work deserves to be paid, something that can support not only the person who works, but also their family. It's a fundamental American proposition that if you work hard and play by the rules, you can not only do all right, but maybe even get ahead. Unfortunately, the market has failed. We've had decades of experience here with stagnant to declining wage rates. Whether it's the CEO in the front office or the janitor cleaning it, the cook serving them their food, everyone deserves to be paid a living wage, and unfortunately our market is not delivering those results. You've referenced numbers that show that if wages are raised, some people will go into poverty, but the truth is that very research that you're referencing demonstrates that on balance, the net effect is tremendous. Millions and millions of working people would benefit from a raise in the minimum wage, whether they're at $7.25 an hour right now, or even making something like $15, $16, $17, $18 an hour. In our state, 2/3 of working people are paid less than $20 an hour. They've been waiting far too long for this market to deliver living wages. We need to boost the minimum to 15 as the start so we can make work pay for Wisconsinites.
Is there a compromise somewhere in there, though? Maybe not necessarily 15, but somewhere between the $7.25 and $15?
Well, and I think that's the issue with trying to set a statewide minimum wage. I mean, I was born and raised in Southwest Wisconsin, rural part of the state. The cost of living there is very different than the city city of Milwaukee. And the expectation that $15 an hour is needed for people to have a living wage in the part of the state that I'm from is just unrealistic. And it's in Wisconsin, you can't even set the minimum wage at the local level. And so it's just unrealistic to think that the cost of living in Milwaukee and a wage in Milwaukee should be the same in rural parts of Wisconsin. And that's the problem with having the government come in and telling businesses what wages they should set. Businesses are in the best position to decide the wages that they offer to their employees, and we should let the market work the way it's intended to work.
Would you be happy if it was a few dollars more instead of all the way up to the 15?
What's unrealistic is trying to support yourself and a family on $7.25 or even $15 an hour. That's why we say it's just a start. We're moving on from the debate about should the minimum wage be raised. The truth is working people organizing, marching, striking, demanding a living wage has changed this debate. And we should be discussing what the right number is. But the truth is, if minimum wage had kept pace with productivity growth in America, that's what workers contribute to a growing economy, we'd be talking about a minimum wage between $21 and $24 an hour. If it had kept pace with the growth in Wall Street bonuses, we'd be talking about a minimum wage of $30 to $33 an hour. We need to make sure that work pays so that everyone who punches a clock brings home a paycheck that has enough to support themselves and their family.
So I would just counter that I disagree with this premise that people aren't paid a living wage. The vast majority of people do not earn the minimum wage, and that's because the market works and the market determines wages. I'd also point out the vast majority of people who earn the minimum wage are not in poor households. Nationally, it's only about 20% of people who earn the minimum wage are considered poor. And to your other point, the vast majority of people that work are not poor. So in Wisconsin alone, only 2% of people that work full-time, full year are in poverty. And the reason is because the minimum wage, to many extents, is largely irrelevant because the market is what determines wages, whether that's $7, $15, or $20. And again, we should let the market work the way it's intended.
I want to talk a little bit about what our neighbors are doing and give you a chance to weigh in on that. So Illinois gradually raising the minimum wage to $15 by 2025. Minnesota increased it to about $10 for large employers, $8.15 for small employers. Does that do anything for the competition for workers here in Wisconsin that our neighbors have done that? What do you think?
Well, sure. I think that it actually, if Illinois follows through on raising their minimum wage to that level, I think it will hurt Illinois because it does share a border with Wisconsin, and you will have businesses that will prefer to locate in Wisconsin, for example. And that's
do you think we could lose employees to a different state to get higher pay?
It's possible, but again, I think the bigger risk is that employers will no longer be able to do business in Illinois, and they'll come to Wisconsin to do business because they need workers. And again, if you allow the market to work, this will all play itself out in terms of competition. Businesses need workers, and they will pay workers what they are worth. It's not the whim of businesses to decide what they're gonna pay their workers. The businesses decide based on the cost of labor, the cost of doing business, and the prices that they can charge. And again, when the government comes in and tells them what they have to pay workers, there are a number of negative consequences that people like yourself, Peter, don't foresee from the beginning.
Well, I don't need to foresee what's going to happen if we do something like raising the minimum wage here in Wisconsin, because there's plenty of examples of states and cities moving towards that. I think the debate, though, needs to be about what folks would say to a fellow by the name of Troy. I won't use his last name, but Troy's a cook at the Fiserv Forum, and he's been part of our bargaining committee there. He led the fight to secure a minimum of $15 per hour for 1,000 of his coworkers. It's something we could bring to everyone in this city. But Troy's been working 2 jobs. And the market has been saying that he's not worth enough to support himself and his 3 daughters. He's the kind of person that raising the minimum wage is all about. Someone who's going to work and is forced to take 2 jobs just to support himself and his family. You can't look Troy in the eye and tell him that he is not worth a living wage. When that power in the labor market was balanced out between his employer and folks like Troy and his coworkers, he was able to secure a living wage. The market puts too much power in the hands of bosses. We need to put power in the hands of working people like Troy so that we deliver on the promise of this economy.
So, Peter, I gave you the first word. Angela, I'm going to give you the last word.
Well, I just want to say the government has much better tools than the minimum wage to help Troy and his 3 daughters. There's an earned income tax credit. There's many other government supports. I'm not as concerned about Troy and his daughters given those other supports. I'm more concerned about the people who are going to lose their employment when you mandate that employers provide a certain wage. Those are the people that are going to be the most in trouble because they're not going to have those benefits from the government tied to employment, and they're not going to have any work. Those are the people that I'm concerned about.
Okay. I think we all agree this is an important discussion to be having right now. Yes. Angela and Peter, thank you.
Thank you.
Republican lawmakers unveiled a nearly $250 million plan to cut state income taxes. It's their idea for what to do with the state budget surplus. They also want to reduce the tax paid by businesses and pay down state debt. Governor Evers wants to put some of the surplus to K-12 education. A statement from his office accused Republicans of breaking their promise to fund schools and reduce property taxes. Coming up, how turnout in the April presidential primary could complicate the path to victory for a Wisconsin Supreme Court justice. And are Republicans trying to eliminate a nuisance for President Trump?